many got to know and understand the word tsunami for the first time. It means a very large wave in the sea which destroys things when it reaches the land. A wave triggered by an earthquake on the ocean floor. The tsunami on the 26th of December 2004 was triggered by a 9.1 magnitude quake off the coast of Indonesia's Aceh province, sending waves as high as 30 meters or 100 feet, slamming into the coastlines of India, Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and many other countries. Aftershocks of up to 7.2 on the Richter scale continued to shake the region daily for 3 or 4 months later. Ceremonies were being held across Asia to remember the more than 220,000 people who were killed 2 decades ago in the Indian Ocean tsunami, the most deadly tsunami in history. According to UNESCO data, which includes those listed as both dead and missing, fatalities were recorded across 15 countries, with Indonesia being the worst hit with over 167,000 fatalities. More than 35,000 people died in Sri Lanka. These are UNESCO figures. More than 16,000 lives were lost in India, the third highest in terms of the number of fatalities, while over 8,000 people died in Thailand. The tragedy prompted the biggest global emergency response in history. According to humanitarian aid agency UNICEF, the international community pledged more than $14 billion in aid. In Indonesia's Aceh province, where the tsunami claimed the lives of around 100,000 victims, a siren from the Baitur Rahman Grand Mosque was sounded to begin a series of memorials. Families visited mass graves across Banda Aceh, the provincial capital. In Sri Lanka, the day was marked with 2 minutes of silence at the Peralia Tsunami Memorial statue in the town of Gali, and the restoration of the iconic Ocean Queen Express train. Mourners paid their respects at a memorial for the nearly 2,000 passengers who died when the giant waves hit their train, the Ocean Queen Express. The train packed for holidays was torn from its track by the tsunami's waves. It was the world's worst rail accident. Mourners boarded the restored train and headed to the exact spot where it was ripped from the tracks, about 90 kilometers south of Sri Lanka's capital, Colombo. Thailand, the fourth worst hit country by tsunami, also saw memorial services that featured Muslim, Buddhist, and Christian prayers. In Ban Nam Kem, a fishing village in the hard-hit province of Phang Na. Of the 8,000 people killed there, many were foreign tourists there to celebrate Christmas on the area's sunny beaches. And in India too, hundreds of people gathered at the iconic Marina Beach in the southern city of Chennai to pay their respects. The Disaster Management Act of India was finally enacted a year after the tsunami. India then established the Indian Tsunami Early Warning Center, or ITEWC, at Hyderabad, and it has been operational since 2007. The center is capable of detecting tsunami-triggering earthquakes occurring in the Indian Ocean as well as in other global oceans within 10 minutes of their occurrence and sending out advisories to the concerned authorities. The Indian system provides tsunami-related and sea surge-based information to 26 countries as part of the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO framework.
The coastal town of Nagapattinam in southern India is scarred by tragedy. 20 years ago, on December 26, 2004, a magnitude 9.15 earthquake off the coast of Indonesia's Aceh province triggered an Indian Ocean tsunami. Having received no formal warning of the approaching waves, residents were left with no chance to escape. Local resident Ganda lost her husband and son in a split second.
When I hear the word tsunami, my whole body shivers at the thought of my husband and child.
The disaster killed more than 226,000 people in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, India, Thailand, and 9 other countries. About 6,000 people died in Nagapattinam alone. Millions have been spent since to create a vast network of seismic and tsunami information centres. Warning towers have been set up along India's coast, and the government has also put together a robust disaster management and early warning system. Here is J. Radhakrishnan, a former district collector.
Gave us an opportunity to reflect on what could be done better. There were no escape routes earlier. Buildings were not earthquake resistant, or for that matter cyclone resistance. So when these were all, and in fact risk insurance was next to nil. So these were all built in during the rebuilding program.
Seaside houses in Nagapattinam have also been moved slightly further inland. Ganda now lives in one of them with her surviving son. Though a much safer and sturdier structure than her previous house, its concrete walls conceal a decades-long hurt and sorrow. We were happily living, me and my husband, along with our children, she says. Now we have a great house, but we are not happy because we lost my husband and child.
And now we have Dr. Sudhir Krishna, former Secretary, Urban Development, Government of India, joining us on Global Lens. Along with, we also have Urmi Goswami, Senior Climate and Environment journalist with us on the show. Thank you, both of you, for taking time out to be with us. Dr. Sudhir Krishna, I'm going to begin by asking you a simple question. India's response was swift after that tsunami, but today, 20 years down the line, is India better prepared than ever? And is India one of the best prepared in the world when it comes to dealing with a tsunami?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on this very important discussion. I think we are much better prepared than 2004. As you just now, you recall that Disaster Management Act was enacted in 2005, and then Early Warning System Center was set up in 2007. And many things, our National Disaster Management Institute, National Disaster Institute, and then Disaster Force, National Disaster Relief Force at a national level, State Force, SDRF at the state level, district level disaster management authorities, National Disaster Management Plan has been prepared. So a lot of action has been taken. And as a result, things are much, much better, no doubt about it. But still, I think we cannot rest, we cannot relax, because what is missing is, or what more has to be done, is the town planning has to improve. The tsunami, the impact is heavy rains and a lot of water gathers. Today, even some rains, many cities, even coastal cities, they get flooded because the drainage system in the cities is not good. So I think this is one area where a lot of attention is required. So because what happens is, we can save lives, but we can save more lives. We have excellent arrangement now for relief and rehabilitation. National Disaster Relief Force, NDRF, and the State Disaster Relief Force, they do excellent work in relocating people, rehabilitating people, and so on. But planning, no, town planning requires more attention. The town plans, the master plans of the towns, particularly in the coastal areas, have to be revisited. That work, I think, is yet to be done in a big way. So this is one challenge, I think, which we have to meet further, that improving the cities' livability, disaster prevention, and disaster proofing the cities. That's very, very crucial. Buildings are better now. The building designs are better. The buildings will not collapse easily. That's all is correct. A lot of good work has been done.
Right, let me take this to Urmi Goswami. Now, Urmi, talk to us. The impact of the tsunami was not just about the lives that were lost on, when the waves crashed on the coast. It was about the ripple effect it had on societies, post the tsunami. Do you think the world has recovered from those effects that was caused the aftermath of the tsunami?
Thank you for having me on the show. And it's interesting that you asked whether the world has recovered or the world has learned from the tsunami and its ripple effect. In some senses, yes. As Mr. Krishna mentioned, that we are much better today at recovery, at the response. Response and recovery has improved. So our reactive sort of paraphernalia has improved a great deal. And we are truly among the top ones in the world, and we realize that from the sort of low casualty levels that we have. And we are also aware that we need to be better at the proactive or the preventive bit. So hence the early warning systems. We are working with other countries, as your beginning as you mentioned in the beginning. Has the world learned? Now, this is where I think the interesting portion comes. The world has learned that you have to improve your reactive capacities, but the world hasn't really learned so much about the preventive and proactive capacities, and that's where we need to focus. And India has India and many other countries realize this, and hence we talk about resilience, about creating infrastructure that's resilient. So yes, you're minimizing the loss of life, but are you minimizing the loss of assets, loss of livelihoods that come with every such extreme weather event? Not just a tsunami, a cyclone, extreme rain, drought, floods. So therefore, that is where the gap lies. And I think the world realizes it's a problem, but I don't know how much the world has actually learned. So maybe we understand what our problem is, but the pace at which we respond to that learning is not optimum. It needs to be much, much better.
The pace of learning needs to be much, much better. Dr. Sudhir Krishna, what do you think is the need of the hour? You have certain portions, certain parts of India, certain coastal regions of India that are declared like tsunami ready as well, especially in the state of Odisha and others. In that sense, talk to us in terms of what is the need of the hour as far as India is concerned when it comes to being more and better prepared for a tsunami. Sir, can you please unmute yourself?
Sorry, yes. I said that earlier. I said that the city planning, particularly the drainage plan, has to improve, and the drainage plan has to be in regional framework. The cities are now, there are surrounding area of the cities are called peri-urban areas. The villages and the smaller towns which are on the outskirts of the major cities, they have to be integrated for planning purposes. So rainwater should easily flow out. That's a very crucial thing. Japan has done a lot of work in that after tsunami, because of course Japan is more vulnerable than us because small islands, and we also have Lakshadweep islands and the Andaman Nicobar islands and coastal areas and many cities. So we have got some good example from Odisha. All right, what you are saying is right, but then this has to be multiplied. Many cities are more in danger because sea level is anyway rising globally. That is the challenge. The sea level is rising, coastal cities are in danger, and our people, we have to have 500 meters of coastline free from any habitation and any serious construction activities, but that is not happening. People are trying to construct closer to the sea because of population pressure. And so I think better town planning for drainage planning purposes is very, very crucial, and it should be taken up as a special mission, a special program by the government at all levels, state government, central government, and of course local government.
Right, it needs an integrated effort. Isn't that the point, Urmi? It has to be the state government, central government, and the local administrations who have to join hands. Putting aside all their differences, if we have to ensure, the ideal, which is zero casualties.
Right, you're right that we have to have an integrated approach among the various levels of government, but the integration also has to be both vertical and horizontal. So it is not just about having just better cities being planned or better habitations, but how do you ensure that you have the right kind of natural buffer? So areas where mangroves should have been, which is your first natural buffer, are you ensuring that these mangroves are protected and they're being conserved as they should be, or are they being depleted? Are we constructing better? Are we creating resilient infrastructure that can withstand a natural disaster? The fact is that you can't stop the tsunami, you can't stop the extreme weather events. So the question is, are we focusing on building better? So yes, better cities, more resilient cities, more resilient infrastructure, working across government, levels of government, across departments in government. So that's vertical and horizontal. Are we planning in a manner that befits being prepared for extreme weather events which are getting more fierce and more regular? It's not just about zero casualty. It should also be about zero or minimal loss of other assets. Uh, we are in terms of lives, we have come a long way. We get early warning, we evacuate people, we save more lives. But once these lives are saved, and once the sort of the extreme weather event is, over and done with, do these people go back to starting from scratch? And that is what we should prevent. We need to be able to create those infrastructures that can withstand these extreme weather events. So, as I said earlier, it is the preventive which will come from working together across government levels, across government departments, but not just government, but also businesses, civil society. So it has to be an all of government and an all of society approach, because the cost of these extreme weather events, be it a tsunami, be it a cyclone, flood, droughts, are huge, and they cost the most vulnerable the most, but they also cost the entire economy. So therefore, yes, an integrated approach is the way to go.
Right, it's a big cost to the economy. Dr. Sudhir Krishna, in that sense, talk to us in terms of India's disaster response. How cost effective is India's disaster response, and more importantly, are enough funds being pumped into India's disaster response?
Well, I think funding is not a problem. We have got many programs. I mean, talking of cities, there are enough programs and enough opportunities to raise resources for making infrastructure, more disaster resilient. And there are, the government support is very high. So that is not an issue. I guess that's not a challenge really. But what is required is good planning. What is required, the changes in the design, building designs or infrastructure designing. For example, if the if the roads are to be aligned properly, the road design should be such that it should not get flooded easily during heavy rains. So that is how it has to be. And any time, small rain also cities get flooded in small rain also, and that is one challenge. And Himalayan region, if you see, the glacial lake outburst phenomenon is another challenge. So earthquake and the lakes crack up, and then they start flooding the rivers and in turn the cities. So we have to prepare, better water planning. Water planning has been neglected. The rivers are being, not taken good care of. The city drains are not being given good attention. It's very crucial matter now. Critically, we have to work on drainage plan for the cities. It will not only be good protection against tsunami, but normal heavy rains, normal cyclonic activities also lead to heavy rains. And therefore, we have to now focus on good city arrangements. And that has to be, Government of India has a lot of role to play. Money is not an issue, but guidance is required. Some nudging is required, asking the states to do it. And the funds are there under Amrut program, and you name the program, there are many missions are there. So that absolutely is not a challenge. And also educational research activities are required. The research institution should take up studies as to which areas are more prone, more vulnerable to impact of tsunami, and what actions are required. City level research has to be taken up by research institutions. I think it's a very good opportunity now for us to do a lot of good work and protect our cities and make them more resilient to disasters like tsunami.